issues.
That's right. These creation care services, we like to hear from people who are working things out in their own lives to care for creation. Now, Val and Dan, some people will know you very well. Some people are perhaps not so well. So why not start by talking a little bit about yourselves?
Hello. Yes, we've been coming here visiting for years because Robert and Emma, Val's mum and dad, you may notice a certain family resemblance to one of your ministers. We've been married for 16 years, going on 17, which has been great. And we've been worshipping in a church called West Wickham and Shirley Baptist in Croydon for the last 9 years, something like that. What else can I say? I work in IT 4 days a week at the moment. Things are changing. And I spend the other day making strange music and sound art. What do you do, Val?
I'm a counsellor, so I work online at home. Dan didn't mention that we're living with Jill and Harry and Evie. So we're all bundled together in that house, which is great. We're loving it. So I work as a counsellor, and what else do we need to tell you? Oh, you don't see us very much because we tend to come to the evening service. We come to the 6, but occasionally we come in the morning. So if you're thinking we look a bit familiar, that might be why.
And we've just asked to be members.
Hey.
Please let us in.
Okay, we'll see whether we let you in. That's great. It's great to get to know you. What about the things that you get up to in terms of caring for the environment? Tell us a little bit about what you do in your lives, in your household, and perhaps just as importantly, why?
I'm going to do the why, and Dan's going to do the what. So just a little bit about our journey. Probably 5 or 6 years ago, we started to make the connection between our faith and how we care about the planet. And, up until that point, in me anyway, there was a big disconnect. When people talked about green issues, it would just trigger guilt in me. I don't know if anyone can relate to that. But I couldn't really get any kind of joy or satisfaction out of this idea of engaging with caring for the earth. But a number of things happened, including years of attending Greenbelt. I'm just giving Greenbelt a quick plug this morning, because Greenbelt have been, banging on about environmental issues for years and years. And it a penny started to drop in me and in Dan. About 5 or 6 years ago. And I started to see that any tiny action that we take for love of God, for love of each other, and for love of the planet has an eternal value. And this is really what changed me. Because up until that point, it's just a drag, isn't it, to wash out your yogurt pot or whatever. But if you start to see it actually as an act of worship, if you start to make that connection, then you start to get joy, you start to get satisfaction from engaging with this issue. So it's been a big old journey. Dan's going to tell us maybe a little bit about what we do or don't do.
Yeah, so it was really, really encouraging to see Tristan, doing the recycling quiz, and you're giving such great answers. Obviously, we've been trying to do the same, so that's always a great thing to do. I think we have found some of it easy because of our own personal circumstance. So we've been living in the centre of Croydon, which has got amazing transport connections, so we haven't needed a car. So when our car broke down 4 years ago, 2019, sorry, longer, we did make the decision not to replace it. which is not to say we don't use a car occasionally. We're having to use it to move stuff from the flat in Croydon to here. Only yesterday we borrowed a car, Emma's car, thank you, Emma. But we've been able to massively reduce our car use. We don't take planes anymore, but we don't have relatives in Australia, so we can do that. So it's been relatively easy for us to do that. A big one, Greenbelt, to blame here. We went to Greenbelt a few years ago, and Val went, I'm going to try being vegetarian for the weekend. Guess what happened next? So we mostly don't eat meat. We don't have meat in the house anymore, but we're quite happy to eat meat. So we consider meat a treat now. So that's our little phrase, meat's a treat. And we're still eating a bit of tinned fish, but and that's made a big difference. And you don't have to clear up all the fat from the meat roast tray anymore. It's brilliant. It's absolutely brilliant. Yeah, so those are like big key things that we've done. One thing that I'm starting to think about is streaming, because I know that has a bit of an impact. So I'm just starting to think about that, and that's probably going to be a lot harder because I like watching films. But we'll see on that one. But I think it's, yeah, you do what's comfortable to you, I think. Have I missed anything important?
Okay, so just to finish off then, what tips might you have for other people who are sort of wanting to start out on this journey of caring for the environment?
Do you want to go first? I think she does.
I think my biggest tip would be feed your motivation, because it's easy to be guilt-tripped, and guilt is a rubbish motivator. Guilt, you'll do stuff, but you won't enjoy it, and no one else around you will either. So feed your motivation. So that means loving, enjoying the natural world. You know, someone put me onto the Merlin app recently, where you can hear the bird. You know, it's like an app where you can identify all the birds that are singing. It's for a free app. Something like that can really feed us in our motivation to think, well, okay, these are fantastic birds. How am I caring for them? God's birds that He created. So yeah, anything that kind of builds that in you. Watch out for the big guilt trip and think, okay, how can I change my mindset? Because guilt is not going to get us to where we need to get to. Yeah, there were hundreds of things I was going to say, but I've forgotten them. Go on.
I would say, don't think of it as an all or nothing. Anything you do is good, yeah? So you do what you can, and we all have different needs and different abilities. So do something that fits you, and then if you're able to do that, you might find you're able to do a bit more. But as Val says, don't feel guilty about it. See it as a way of loving the earth. Yeah.
That's
Have you
fantastic.
remembered now?
Thank you both, Val and Dan. Let's give them a round of applause.